The neck is a bridge to the body. Obviously references parts of the guitar. And those parts, the neck and the body, the headstock, they're all parts of the human body. And so one of the critical elements of the piece is there's like a kind of struggle when, and the analogy I use is when you're learning something new, there's this excitement and this nervous energy, but this frustration when you're trying to master something. And after you have, it could be anything. It could be a piece of software. It could be learning any kind of new skill, a new language, anything. But it's so frustrating, and yet this inspiration comes. And then after that, the end result of that process is this seamlessness between you and whatever it is that you have learned, the tool, the skill set, the instrument, the software. It could be anything, like I said. And so I think that I relate to the guitar on an extremely physical level. And so the neck is a bridge to the body is just this, it's basically saying, well, whose neck and whose body, and which, my neck and the guitar's body, or vice versa. It becomes something that is seamless and doesn't have a boundary. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. That's cool.
Thank you.
And let's talk a little bit about sort of your composition process. Was it different for
Definitely.
this?
Yeah, it was wonderful because I had written, and I had to think a lot about this piece. So I knew there couldn't be a lot of tuning changes. This wasn't going to be an option. So I used only two tunings.
Right, that guitar sitting there fixed on the
Yeah, exactly. But even just taking the time to tune, the break, it just, normally it works with an audience that I get to talk to, but in this case I'm more of a character. Mm-hmm. So I'd start off I'd been writing a lot in open D minor, D-A-D, F-A-D. And then I switch in the middle of the show to C, G, D, G, A, D. So, already I had this, like, okay, I've got to write songs in this tuning. And I just started working on some things. And then I would send demos to the visual people of various different sets. So, for instance, with Chantel Martin, we used a demo of the song and played it for her over and over while she just drew and improvised, and then we edited what she had improvised. And then as I'm editing and watching, I'm hearing these things. I'm, like ideas are popping out. I'm hearing percussion and finger snaps and horns and all kinds of different stuff. And so it was this great back and forth with everything. So it would be a stripped down demo, and then the visual elements would get made, or some of them we'd start working on them, and I'd think, oh, well, now this has to sound like this, or I need this kind of pedal, right? So, and I've never worked like that. I've always worked in the sort of, build on the demo that I have in a vacuum. And now I was getting all of this amazing imagery to inspire me. It was cool. It was, it happened a lot faster, I think, that because of that. Yeah.
And so was it challenging for you to create something that some will listen to as just a piece of music?
Oh yeah.
Whereas others will see this whole composed.
Yeah, and it's hard because I think if you just receive this soundtrack, it's a beautiful album on its own, but I think you might go, interesting for Kaki to make these choices because it does accompany the show. Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone would be disappointed. I think it's just different because, what it's intended for you to hear it and to see it. Mm-hmm. But that being said, it's a fully produced record. A lot of work went into it. D. James Goodwin produced it and mixed, and he's amazing. He was the producer on Glow, which was a record that I was very pleased with. And so, I wasn't trying to cheat anybody by just, throwing some tracks up. But there are some elements that are very different and things that I wouldn't have perhaps done in the past. So that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, go somewhere new.
Yeah.
And so you premiered it, I think, like a year ago in New
March
York.
A year ago.
So what have you been doing since then?
Oh, well, a few things.
I know you've been a little busy.
I've been a little busy. My wife and I had a baby. She had the baby. I have been parenting the baby. And that's been very fun. She's pretty awesome. She's a very good guitar player, which I know sounds crazy, but I have the video to back that up. But she's 6 months old right now, as of March 1st, 2nd.
Yeah.
And she's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Definitely change your perspective on things.
Yeah, she loves hip hop. And like anything that I think is cool, like this baby's gonna be she's gonna just rebel against everything I do. Like I really wanted to be like, ooh, I play like 70s synth drone records to put my baby to sleep. No, did not work at all. She wanted Twinkle Twinkle, and that's what she got. And so now, you know, when I'm like, hey, like this is what So Percussion sounds like. She's like, I don't care. I want House of Pain, Mom. I want 90s hip hop. And then she just bounces in her thing.
Isn't that funny? Even
she loves the Black
age,
Eyed Peas.
They have.
Oh, it's amazing!
Right?
It's amazing. She wants a good beat and tons of repetition, and who can blame her? Yeah,
who doesn't?
I mean, this arty farty guitar thing that Mom does, she's already so over it.
That's so funny. So let's talk for a minute about the performance. So your guitar is fixed on the stage.
It's on 2 stands that are just microphone stands.
Is it difficult to play without moving?
You know,
the guitar?
I've gotten a lot better. At first, it was hard. What's actually harder is setting my pedal board, because I use a lot of effects, and really being able to play guitar and manipulate the pedals, because normally I'd just be able to move my body around or stand and get to things. That's been the most challenging. What I found was that, so when you have a guitar, we can demonstrate this with an actual guitar, but you know, guitars are neck heavy, so the neck will fall if it's sitting on your lap. But the way you counterbalance that is not by lifting up, it's by putting your right arm just sits on top of the guitar, and that's the counterbalance to the neck. And so the way the guitar is held up is very, I mean, my arms are both in the exact position. The guitar is almost to my knee. So other than a few adjustments, it really hasn't been that difficult. I thought it would be much harder. That was one of the things I thought would make this impossible, is playing the guitar suspended like that would just be too, you know, it would just feel too awkward.
Can you do more things because you don't have to hold the guitar up at the same time?
I don't think so. I feel like I do less things because I can't dig in as much as I want to. So normally the guitar would be, I'd have it so close and so tight, and there, in addition to that counterbalance, you have, you know, this arm pulls back a little, and then both arms are kind of pulling back so the guitar doesn't wobble. I don't have that, and so I can't get as much energy. Plus, I don't want to, you know, it's pretty stable, but things shift. And when it shifts, the mask is what it's called, the outline, the stencil, it can shift as well. And so, well, it doesn't shift, but the guitar, if it moves, so sometimes you see a little overlap of light on me. So I can't I can't have the kind of intensity that I'd like. So I've had to adapt. I've had to make the songs intense with distortion, or intense with, some other kind of technique of playing. Yeah.
Do you play, is it just solo guitar, or do you have tracks?
I have tracks. Yeah. I thought, oh God, I have tracks. Just shoot me. It's actually really cool, because what I found is that with the tracks, and of course it's like watching a giant movie. I mean, the whole thing, it's not cheesy or silly at all. It's actually quite beautiful, and it really enhances the experience. But with a track, I can turn something that usually would be something I'd play the same way. I can play anything. So I've taken the opportunity to really improvise inside of the track that you're hearing. So the track starts running, the movie starts happening, and things are flying around and dripping all over, and it looks incredible. And yet in that context, I get to do something new. And so that, I feel very strongly that people should know that they can't ever see the same show twice. There's a lot of improvisation built into that. And that's one of the ways I've been able to figure out how to do that.
That's interesting, because you'd think like the tracks would be more restrictive, but it's not the other way around.
Just the way I have them written is that the guitar part that I'm playing is not the thing that's holding it all down. Yeah. And so there's a drum beat, there's a bass line, but then I just get to go wild. So it's pretty helpful.
It's cool.